Are you actually reinvesting in your business or are you just lying to yourself? What's up, blue collar business owner? Welcome back to the Blue Collar Prosperity Podcast. I'm your host, Paul Maskill, where I focus on helping guide you to have a business that produces consistent, positive cash flow. In doing so, you will have the clarity and confidence that your business is headed in the right direction. Today is a solo show. It is the first Monday of the month. What we are diving into today is that stop lying to yourself and convincing your ego that the reason you have no money is because you're quote unquote reinvesting. This might be the most annoying excuse that I get when I talk to a business owner who doesn't have any profitability. They don't have any cash in the bank and they say, everything's great. We're just reinvesting in our business. Here's the thing. Everything's not great. And you're reinvesting into a business that's not working. So that's not a good investment to make. So what I have learned is the most successful businesses are the ones that are creating consistent positive cash flow. They are predictable, their owners sleep well at night, and it's no longer a stressful week when we have to run payroll. As a CFO for trade businesses, my job is to make sure you know exactly what levers to pull in order to achieve your definition of success, freedom, and wealth. And that's what we do with our clients every single day. Now, for the longest time, I was the fractional CFO for the companies that I've ran, scaled, and sold. And I just didn't realize that's what I was doing. I was just always using numbers. I've always been a numbers person. But what I realize is most people that own a business, especially most people in the trades, they didn't start their business because they love numbers. They started their business because they are really good at the craft. They have a passion for the craft. They want to teach other people the craft. And then all of a sudden it turns into the business that it is today. And we don't have our numbers in line. So I've spent the last 14 years as a small business owner scaling and selling 4 different companies, most recently one in the electrical field. So that's what we do every day now. So we are fractional CFOs, most owners in the trades. Like I said, their business is growing because there's a massive demand for it. There is no AI taking over how to be an electrician. There is no AI taking over landscaping. There is no AI taking over plumbing. And the workforce is getting older. So there is a massive opportunity there. We keep growing, but if we're not growing properly, we're building a house of cards. So let's get into that. Like I said, some of the biggest lies we tell ourselves is around profitability. We are always going to make excuses of why we're not hitting the net profit that we should be, or why our pricing isn't where it should be. Here's the thing. If you're not consistently creating 15 to 20% net profit in your business, something is broken. If you don't have at least 3 months of cash in the bank, you are on the brink of failure. One thing goes wrong for a week or two, and it becomes really stressful. Then we start taking on more debt, and we end up digging a hole that we cannot get out of. Do not reinvest, quote unquote, reinvest in your business until you actually have the cash to do so. If there is not excess cash in the business, we need to stop telling ourselves the reason we have no money is because we are reinvesting. Almost every owner that I talk to when they come to us, they are not consistently profitable. And they tell me one of two things. One, we're growing, so we're just spending a lot of money on growth, or we're reinvesting in the business so that way we're set up for the future. Or one of the other excuses I get is I don't want to pay taxes. And we'll save that conversation for another day. But super quick example, if you profited $100,000 and you had to pay even $20,000 in taxes, you still have $80,000 left over. However, if you make no money, you have no money left over. Yes, you didn't give the government any because there is no money to give them. So I much rather pay my taxes and have a bunch of money left over instead of not pay taxes and have no money. So let's get back to reinvesting. What is the actual proper way to do this? The key is to actually have a strategy, a game plan, a step-by-step thing to follow. So that way we know we are headed in the right direction. So first, we must build a solid financial foundation. We need to get ourselves consistently creating 15 to 20% net profit. If you go back to some of the other solo shows, there's a lot of different things we talk about on where should our KPIs be, where should our margins be, how much should we spend on marketing and all that. Every business is different, but in general, we should have a gross profit of at least 50%. So 50% gross profit. That means we're spending 50% on labor and material in the field, and we have 50% left over to cover all of our overhead expenses. So The main things in overhead, one is going to be marketing. So how much are we going to spend on marketing? The next thing is going to be office payroll, owner's compensation, all the payroll that we're running that isn't for people out in the field. And then the third thing in overhead is really just that, the overhead. So the rent, the utilities, the vehicles, the office supplies, software, all the other things that we need to pay no matter what in order to keep our business running. So we should be spending roughly 30 to 35% on all of that stuff between marketing, office payroll, and overhead, which leaves us 15 to 20% net profit. If you are not consistently creating 15 to 20% net profit, then it does not make sense to scale. It does not make sense to reinvest in your business because your business isn't financially strong yet. So once we are financially strong, we've built a solid foundation, we know exactly where our numbers are going to be, then we can scale. Now, when we do scale, that's when we can start to make strategic decisions on where do we quote unquote reinvest. And what does that look like? I'm going to give you a super simple example. Say your business is doing $4 million in revenue. And at $4 million, you're at 18% net profit. So that means every percentage point at $4 million is worth $40,000. So every percentage point, I'll say that again, every percentage point in a $4 million business is $40,000. So let's say we're at a point of doing $4 million. We need to bring a service manager on. We're doing 18% net profit, $4 million in revenue. And we need to pay that service manager before they actually pay for themselves. That is quote unquote reinvesting in our business. We are buying something, in this case, a service manager. We're going to start to pay them, but they're not going to produce all the revenue that we think right away because there is training and onboarding and them just getting comfortable and the technicians buying into them and all that stuff. So let's say we're going to pay that person $120,000 a year. $120,000 divided by 40,000, which is 1 percentage point, means this service manager is temporarily going to cost us 3 percentage points. So we can temporarily afford to have our net profit go down to 15% while this service manager gets up and running, gets on board, and might take them, I don't know, 60, 90 days till they're really driving revenue. They're doing call by call coaching. They're doing ride alongs. They're doing sales trainings. They're doing one-on-ones, holding their technicians accountable and making sure their average ticket's going up and making sure their callbacks are going down and making sure their, their booking or their conversion rate is going up. So eventually, maybe 6 to 12 months from now, that person will get us higher than 18%. Ideally, we get to 20% because whoever's doing the service manager role before, probably you, the owner, if you're at that point where you're bringing your first one on, that then frees you up to go do other things and it allows one person to be a service manager 100% of the time instead of you being a service manager 25% of the time. So in theory, they should be able to then drive revenue, which will help our bottom line. So that's temporarily, quote unquote, reinvesting. We're going to go from 18% to 15% short term. Maybe we do that for 6 months. And then on month 7, we're going to go to 16%. And month 8, we're going to go to 18%. And by month 10 or 12, maybe we are at 20%. And now we've built the next layer foundation to continue to scale. And now we can continue to do that thing. That's a strategy. That is not just hope. That is not just an excuse. That is not just our ego making excuses in our mind and trying to justify why we're not profitable. Here's the thing. If you're not profitable consistently, something is broken. That's the great thing about numbers. Numbers do not lie. That's also the terrible thing about numbers because a lot of times it hurts our feelings, it hurts our emotion, it hurts our ego. But at the end of the day, when the numbers aren't in line, just like anything else in this world, it tells us something is broken, and then we got to dive in. And that's exactly what we do every single day as outsourced CFOs for companies in the trades. So please, please, please stop lying to yourself. Your excuses only sound good to you. The key to all this is get started. I tell that to everybody every single day. I love the quote that the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the second best time is now. If you have any questions, need any help, need any clarity on this, head on over to thebluecollaradvisors.com. If you go there, you'll have several options. One, you can book a free call with me. We'll dive into your business, figure out what's working, what's not working, what's getting in the way of where you actually want to go. Or while you're also at thebluecollaradvisors.com, you can also download a pricing calculator. It's a super simple pricing calculator, yet very powerful. And it comes with a video and PDF and all that kind of stuff to make sure you are priced right so you can be consistently profitable. That's all I got today, guys. Remember, take action. Get 1% better every single day. You do that every single day, you'll be 37 times better 12 months from now. Have an awesome day. We will chat soon.